How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video. And today we're going to be doing our Game Week 8 preview, as the title says. I don't know if you can see it just over my shoulder there, but Aubameyang sinks Man United is the headliner for today's Game Week. We're going to be looking at the Game Week 7 review, which Aubameyang did score the only goal in the United versus Arsenal fixture, where United played terribly and Arsenal played okay, but were good enough to win the game. Good on them. They were tactically set out as they should have been to frustrate United, because United can't seem to play through teams that just sit back. But Arsenal didn't even just sit back. They actually did something that I didn't think they would do. They took the game to us, and they created a couple chances earlier on as well as throughout the first half, and looked quite dangerous. So a bit of a different scenario going on over at Arsenal. Thomas Partey's come in and done what he's basically been brought in to do, which is control and command the midfield. So, which was quite interesting, considering they only had two real midfielders in there with El Neni and with Partey, and they seemed to control the four midfielders that we had in Bruno, Pogba, McTominay, and Fred. So it was a bit interesting to see how they did that so well, and it was basically because they man-to-man with the wing-backs. So Saka and Bellerin helped out and basically created a four-man versus four-man against the United players. But in terms of the other fixtures, we're going to talk about, you know, all the things that went on this game week. So Ings, his injury. I have Ings in my team. Is it going to be long term? Hopefully it's not. Got a lot of flags in my team at the moment. Some players coming good finally, and some players going a bit cold, as it were, or maybe looking to get out as well and not being played at all after they look to be somewhat of astute picks earlier on. And yeah, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to look at our normal stuff that we normally do, like our predictions that we did from last week, our clean sheet and differential picks, and then we're going to do the predictions for Game Week 8, as we always do. And then we're just going to go over potential future transfers, what I may be doing this week, but it all depends on team news. So I might have to be patient this week and have to miss out on potentially some price rises, but we'll have to see in regards to that. If you're watching this over on YouTube, this is being streamed over on Twitch, so make sure to come over when we do the live streams. The previews are on Monday evenings. Currently it's at 7 p.m. EDT, but I did a poll. And now that we've we've gone 8 game weeks in, a lot of people have chosen think that I should do it a little bit later. So we're looking at like 8:30, or like anywhere between 8:30 and 9:30 EST start time. So that would be an hour and a half or so start time later than what I normally would do, which is fine, because I basically put it out there because I could be doing something to fill that time, whether it be, you know, working out or doing other things. But if more people are going to tune into that time, I'm definitely okay with pushing it back. It would just mean the VOD on YouTube is going to go up later. So we'll see what the response is. I'll wait for the poll to get a couple more just to be sure about that. But make sure to leave a comment down below when this goes up on YouTube as to what times that you may potentially want for the previous streams. And then the deadline stream, we've just been doing them the night before the deadlines, because the games have been on Friday, so that's not going to persist. The games have been going back to Saturdays after Game Week 8, so that's just going to go back to normal, which is just going to be 1 hour before the deadline, as per usual. Also, if you haven't done so already, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn those notification bells on, follow us on all the socials, as you can see just below me, PilotFam226. Links will be in the description, or in my Twitter bio, or in the Twitch description, depending on where you're watching this from. And there was one other thing that I forgot to mention. Oh yeah, it's going to be international break at the end of this week, so we'll be having a few videos that we don't normally have throughout the week for that, like we normally did. And then also I put up my last gaming video of the series for Detroit Become Human. That is up on the channel now. Put it up last night. We're going to be discontinuing that for the time being while I get some more gaming content. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to be potentially looking to do a different series that's related to football, but more oriented around like potential like tactics briefings. I may pick like a game out of the week and kind of look to see how they played, and kind of just go into like the intricacies on how basic goals were scored and that sort of stuff. So it should be quite easy overall. Without further ado, I've been rambling on. Let's get into it and see how the team did. How's it going, Mono? How am I feeling after the United result? Not great, but my FPL team should bring me a little bit more joy. So that's the team up on the screen. The points totals. It's 66 points when Lamptey comes in, because he will come in because Burke and Mitchell both did not play. So I got a bit of a jammy, set off the bench. So not too bad there. We got the captaincy choice right. So we're now 6 of 7 for returns for a captain. Salah doing the best he could and getting himself 8 points, which I will definitely take over the likes of Kane and Son, who would have gotten me less points. So that's better than some people who did captain Kane and Son, who are more captained than Salah. But I believe the most captain, or the best captain that you could have had this week would have been like a Grealish or somebody like that, or Jamie Vardy, or like a 15-pointer. They would have been the best captaincies, and that's obviously in hindsight. Yeah. Overall, 66 points, so 62 with the -4. It means we go up 300k places. We were at 1.9 million or thereabouts, and now we're going to be at 1.6 million after we get Lamptey subbed in for James Rodriguez. I'm glad I stuck it out with Adams. He's paid off the last 3 weeks, so many got lucky with bench Lamptey or Watkins. I got 65. Yeah, I was one of those people with the that was lucky with Lamptey. But I knew going into this game week that I had to replace Castagne, because Castagne had to get replaced in my team because he's going to be injured until after the international break. I brought in a defender that I knew might not potentially play in Kilman. He did play. I knew Rodriguez was out, but I wasn't willing to take the additional hit to get him out because I knew he was going to be the following game week. There was also potential that Mitchell was going to be out of the squad entirely. He was. I knew Lamptey was going to play. And I knew that there was a chance that Ollie Burke wasn't going to play either. And it just so happened that he didn't, and I got Lamptey's points. So you can say there's a bit of luck element with Burke. But some people I've seen have gotten... they had Souček first, then Lamptey on their bench. But since Maupay didn't play, then Lamptey comes in as well. So some people got like a double off the bench, like with Basuma and Lamptey and that sort of stuff. So, but yeah... 65 points is going to do you good this week, though, and Adams has done quite well for himself, as well as Ings. Although Ings looks like he could be potentially injured, whether it's long-term or not, we will have to see. So let's just run through the team really quickly. So McCarthy probably should have kept a clean sheet, to be perfectly honest with you. Southampton played very well for 60 minutes. We're up 4-0. And then decided to stop playing. And then they gave away 3 goals. McCarthy did end up getting some save points, which helped him out and got him 3 points. Ayling, again, team conceded 4. I had to choose between him or Dallas. I decided on a Leeds defender. I chose Ayling. Ayling got me 0. Dallas would have got me 6, I think it was. So that's a 6-point swing there over basically a 50-50 decision. And we did it based off of the statistics, and it was quite a fortunate goal from Dallas, to be perfectly honest. So not really too mad about that overall. Kilman was a good buy. Got a clean sheet right away. Robertson, just the 2 points, but did look lively as usual. Son wasn't his best game, only getting 2 points. Lamptey coming in for Rodriguez is obviously fantastic with the 9-pointer, but I think that James would have done wonders had he played versus Newcastle, because again, Newcastle were quite fortunate to get the 2 goals that they did. One was a penalty that was a bit soft in my opinion. The other one was decently worked, but Calvert-Lewin, we saw what he could do as well, making the run into the near post and just clipping the ball past the goalkeeper. Podence finally got a return, so I'm happy about that. So my Friday started off great. Got 14 points from 2 players, so I was excited. Salah getting a return, was very happy about that. Kane getting a return but not going crazy was exactly what I wanted. So he got a goal, got his 2 points extra as well, so he got 6 points. You know, his start point, his past 60 minutes point, and his goal. No bonus points, and that's kind of where I wanted it. Basically, I wanted Salah to return and Kane to return, but whatever Salah got, I wanted him, you know, Salah to get more. Took out TA for Chilwell this game week. Looking at maybe Robbo out for Cresswell, our Man City defender. I'm going to hold Robbo. Yes, I'm going to hang on to him. I have other things to worry about at the moment. I mean, Robertson, I've had him since the beginning. He's played 7 game weeks. He's gotten a return in 1, 2, 3, 4 out of those 7, which isn't bad. One of those was a negative scoreline. But again, his last 2 fixtures have been, you know, the 1 goal versus West Ham, you could say was a bit cheap to kind of give away. It was a poor clearance by Gomez and not really closed down on the shot. And then Sheffield United got a penalty that probably shouldn't have been a penalty. You know, will they concede versus Man City? Maybe, but Man City haven't been scoring very many. So I'm going to hang on to Robertson for now and see kind of how it goes. And we'll go from there. If I think that, you know, if he gets injured or some other things happen, then we will... we'll work that out later on. And then Ings getting a goal as well. A very great goal. Wasn't really involved too much in the game, but then does what Ings does, which is he takes a very, very low XG chance and puts it in the back of the net. And his was a fantastic finish. Ward-Prowse, an honorable mention there as well, because he was outstanding. But we know that he could do that because those free kicks are basically penalties for him from that range. So doing quite well for himself. I think he's at 5.8. So with Ings in the team, if assuming he's, you know, not injured, and Ward-Prowse, they could definitely cause Newcastle some problems in the next fixture, as well as Wolves. United, again, a team that doesn't handle the press very well. Southampton can do quite well. But yeah, overall quite pleased. Some concerns in terms of some of the players that have flags on them at the moment, but overall quite pleased. Heard last season that Liverpool's clean sheets in the first 13 games was only 4, similar this year, maybe sticking out for more value for the money in mid. Exactly. So basically it was a streak of like, I think it was around like the mid-teens. So it was like anywhere from 13 to 15 game weeks. They only had like 2 or 3 or 4. It wasn't very many. And then they went on a tear of like, it was like a 14 game stretch and they got like 13 clean sheets or something stupid like that. It was a ridiculous run. And then keeping an eye out for Antonio. Exactly. So if Ings is out and Antonio is in, it's going to be an easy swap there. Although there is potential for Calvert-Lewin. Not Calvert-Lewin. Callum Wilson. And yeah, he could be potentially somebody that comes in as well, because his fixtures aren't too bad either. But we'll take a look at that in a bit. But yeah, Antonio is definitely on my eye, especially if Ings is going to be out for this game week and a few more game weeks. So like, I like Ings versus Newcastle. Wolves away could be a bit difficult. United, he's probably going to be fine with, even though it's my team. I expect him to probably score. Brighton, he should be okay. Sheffield United, he should be okay. But if he's out for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, something like that, then I'm definitely going to get potentially get rid of him. I'm sure you're glad that Bamford blanked. I mean, I don't really care too much if Bamford blanked, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, I mean, the cheaper strikers have done really well. You know, this season so far. Like Antonio's been a revelation at West Ham. We knew he could do these sorts of things, but it's just if he could stay fit, and then he was staying fit and was doing well. Bamford's come in and scored 6 in 7 games, something like that. Wilson's got like 6 or 7 goals in like 6 or 7 games. Calvert-Lewin's done well. I know he's not like the cheaper strikers, but he was 7 million at the beginning of the season. You also have Maupay, who started off okay, but has kind of cooled off since then. Who else do you have? I mean, Mitrovic got 2 goals and he's got 2 assists so far, so a little bit on the lower end, but again, still getting, you know, some points here and there. And yeah, there's a couple of good strikers that have done really well that are cheaper. But yeah, and Mitchell I'll hang on to. I think it was just a precautionary thing to keep him out for 1 game week. You know, he is a bench player, so he's not really a priority right now. If I was wildcarding or something, then yeah, maybe I would look to potentially get him out for somebody. But yeah, we'll hang on to him for now. We've got value on him too, so we got him at 4 million and he's gone up to 4.2. So I think he was only out for just the one game. Like James Rodriguez, we knew he was like Ancelotti said we're resting him. You know, he had a problem. We couldn't sub him off. He just needs to be rested to get that keel back up. And he knows that the important game is the United at home game. He knows that's the important game. He knows that the Newcastle game wasn't as important because if he puts in James versus Newcastle, yeah, they might win the game, but he could be out like, you know, super long term. Let's say he's like, you know, he actually like tears his hamstring, he's out for, you know, 8 to 10 game weeks. So he took that risk. Yeah, they lost to Newcastle, but it's whatever. If they can beat United, then it just erases that that loss. So because at the end of the day, 3 points is 3 points. Moving on to the predictions that we had for last week. If you don't know how the scoring works or don't know how we do it here, basically, if you get the correct scoreline completely, so if I had guessed that Wolves was going to win 2-0, you get 3 points. If you guessed that Wolves was going to win and they win, you get 1 point. And if you guessed Wolves was going to win and they had lost or drawn, then you get 0 points. So that's kind of how it works. Last week we got 5 points, which I believe we got 5 correct results. So we got like 5 wins, draws, or losses like correctly picked for certain teams. This week I know we did a lot better just based on the results that I saw. So Crystal Palace we predicted to lose 1-0 to Wolves. They ended up losing 2-0, so we got 1 point. City 2-0 over Sheffield United and being 1-0, so 1 point. Chelsea 3-0 over Burnley, 1 point. We predicted 2-0. Liverpool 2-1, 3-1. We're literally just 1 goal off on these, so another 1 pointer. Southampton versus Aston Villa. We predicted Southampton to win. They won 4-3 instead of 2-1 against the same margin. Everton, though, however, we did not get that right. We said they win 3-0. They end up losing 2-1. United versus Arsenal. We said 2-1 United, and it ended up being 1-0 Arsenal. Just really thought that game was going to be, you know, a bit of a struggle for United, but didn't think they would play that badly. Spurs 3-1 over Brighton. We end up getting... I was going to cross that one out there. We end up getting 1 point for that. West Brom actually playing quite poorly, and Fulham was all over them. So we got that one wrong there. And a draw between Leeds and Leicester ended up being a Leicester win. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points in total. So we definitely did look better. And in terms of our clean sheets and differentials, we were awesome this week. So we got a clean sheet, Chelsea, correct. Patricio returned, getting a clean sheet, correct. Regulon getting an assist. Bale getting a goal from a Regulon assist, so that's even better. And then the only person that let us down was Firmino because, as he always does, I got a bit excited because I think Firmino is a very good footballer. He's just been underperforming as of late, but I thought that 1 goal might spur him on to go on and do more things versus West Ham. So 6 points overall, 4 out of 5 on the differential picks. I will definitely take that every day of the week. So the surprising results was how poorly United played after coming off a 5-0, you know, drumming of Leipzig, who are currently sitting at top of the Bundesliga. City still a bit worrying in terms of how many goals they aren't scoring, being wasteful chances. Chelsea going back to form. Wolves doing a more Wolves-like performance. Southampton showing that they can, you know, score goals when they need to. Aston Villa, like I said the week before when they lost 3-0 to Leeds, I'm like, their defense isn't that good. And Southampton showed that. I said that basically Southampton's press will cause them to basically make mistakes. And ultimately, they ended up winning set pieces off them, which they then capitalized. 1 was off a corner, and 2 were off free kicks by Ward-Prowse. And the last one was just Danny Ings just doing what Danny Ings does, which is just cut in on his right foot and take a very low percentage chance and make it really easy, to be perfectly honest. And then Aston Villa came back and scored 3 because the likes of Southampton decided to stop playing for 30 minutes. So also in that game, we did get to see that Ollie Watkins is the penalty taker for Aston Villa. So that is key for FPL assets because Ross Barkley, Jack Grealish, and Ollie Watkins were all on the pitch. Jack Grealish got fouled for the penalty, and Ollie Watkins, he gave the ball to Ollie Watkins. So he is going to be their penalty taker. So a bit interesting dynamic in terms of, you know, who you could pick for Aston Villa attacking assets. So would you hold St. Maximin or jump on Zaha or someone similar? If you have the ability to go from St. Maximin to one of the mid-price 7 million mids, I think Jack Grealish is looking fantastic. Unfortunately for me, I'm just going to go without because I don't think Villa's form is sustainable, but I think he's the type of player that he's their talisman, so he's going to do things that a lot of players won't. Like, if Villa score, there's a very high chance that Jack Grealish is involved. Oh, you have Grealish. You got Grealish last week. Then I would say potentially Phil Foden. I know it's not the best couple of weeks coming up for him, but the run from game week 9/10ish onwards, I would say is very good. You're gonna have to take the rotation risk, and that's what you're gonna have happen. But against the the bad teams, 30 minutes from Foden is usually better than like 60 minutes from Podence, as an example. Even though Podence didn't score this week, but again, Foden has shown time and time again that he can come off the bench and still do quite well, whether it's in Europe or in the Premier League. I just want them to start him in the David Silva role because he would be an absolute steal at that price point. So, and then Leeds. We knew Leeds were going to be aggressive, but the team to be aggressive against to get punished by is going to be Jamie Vardy, isn't it? So, yeah. What do you think on Kilman versus Seiss? I think I would not be surprised if Seiss starts over Kilman this week. And you see that, is it Nuri? Alta Nuri? I can't pronounce the name. It's basically the one who scored for Wolves. Ait Nori, this guy. He potentially could start at left wing back because Marcel may be still injured potentially. And we may see Seiss come in at center back. But I have it to whereas Kilman's not going to be playing. I don't need him for the next 2 game weeks. I have a bit of a rotation, which I can discuss a little bit later. But if you're jumping on the Wolves defense, I think it's to pick between 3 defenders. So the most nailed defender is Connor Cody because he's captain. Then it's Willy Bolly because he's basically the reason why they keep clean sheets for the most part. And then I would say thirdly is probably Nelson Semedo. However, there is a chance, I say chance, that he gets rotated with Traore at right wing back. So there is that potential chance that can happen. Is it likely to happen? I don't think so. But because they brought in Semedo for a reason, right? You're not going to pay all this money for a defender from Barcelona, and then he doesn't end up playing games. I think Marcel was more of an experienced cover because Roman Seiss isn't really a left wing back. Whereas when Johnny Otto comes back in, Johnny Otto will play, and then it'll be basically a pick your player between Kilman and Seiss to play the other center back role, because the other 2 will be locked down with Bolly and Cody. Van Arnholt and Mitchell. Well, right now I would say you can't really trust either because Mitchell has just been injured, and he could potentially be rotated with Klein. However, I think it's slightly better for Mitchell in this case because Mitchell was playing game in, game out, and he moved over to right back when Van Arnholt came on the pitch in the previous game, in game week 6. So, but I would say wait on Van Arnholt before bringing him in. Palace's next game is Leeds, so I wouldn't necessarily think that's a good fixture. And it's at home, which Palace typically plays better away from home. I would say give it a game week, give it the international break, and then potentially look for Palace from game week 9 onwards, because they have, Burnley away is great, Newcastle at home is great, West Brom away is great, and then Spurs is okay. And then West Ham away isn't too bad as well. But yeah, I'd say give it a week for Crystal Palace defenders specifically. on that front. Now, let's take a look at this week's fixtures. So we're going to go through our predictions here, as we normally do. Let me bring out my trusty little notepad here. And yeah, let's see. So Brighton versus Burnley. So I think Brighton and Burnley are two teams that are been hard to predict this year, because Burnley, you would think, are doing well, but they just are super inconsistent, and they rotate their front line and stuff like that. And Graham Potter he did some weird things, you know, not playing Malpai, not playing Conley, not even in the squad, which is a bit weird. So I think they may be going through a bit of something behind the scenes over there. Burnley, I think if they get Ben Mee back, they're going to be fine. But I think this game could manifest itself similarly to how they played versus West Brom, so that's why I'm going to say it's going to be a 1-1. Southampton versus Newcastle. I think Southampton should just edge this, but it all stems on the fact that if Danny Ings is back or not. If he's not, then you have to rely on the likes of like Shane Long, who doesn't really, you know, fill me with any confidence. But Che Adams has been fine, but that's mainly due to the fact that with, you know, the link-up play with Danny Ings. So we'll have to see on that front. But I think Southampton's press should cause problems for Newcastle. I can see Callum Wilson potentially nicking a goal and doing well. Everton versus Man United. Well, I mean, Man United away from home has been, you know, they got a very lucky win versus Brighton. And they beat Newcastle, which isn't really much to, you know, shake a stick at. But Everton's going to have pretty much everyone back except for Richarlison from the looks of it. And I think that Everton's going to be a team that are going to take the game to United. They're at home. They should be taking the game to United. But I think that plays into United's hands. But I think that United will probably win in midweek and then either draw or lose this game, personally. And losing in the league is not good for United right now. And it is away from home, and it's the home form that's really worrying. But I still think that Everton, with James Rodriguez, with Calvert-Lewin the way he's playing, with Digne back in the team, the only person out is would be Richarlison. But I think that Iwobi did quite well for himself when he did play. I can see Everton winning this game. I'm going to go a 2-1 Everton win. I know it's not, you know, not like me. You know, my heart says United will win the game 2-1, but I think my head says that it's, you know, that Everton have every reason to win the game because they'll have James Rodriguez rested and back. They don't play midweek, so Digne will be back from suspension. So all of these things seem to, you know, make the most sense to me. You know, ideally I would like to predict the United win every week, but I think that this is one of the times where if there's any time to play United right now, it could be this for Everton. Crystal Palace versus Leeds. I think this is going to be basically one-way traffic overall. Leeds should have more than enough for Palace. And I think Leeds will probably win the game. I think Palace might nick one on the break. I'm going to go the Leeds 3-1 win. So you've gone Brighton, Burnley 1-1, Southampton 2-1 over Newcastle, 1-1 between Everton United, Leeds 2-1 over Crystal Palace, Chelsea 2-0 over Sheffield, West Ham 2-0 over Fulham, Spurs beating West Brom 2-1, Leicester beating Wolves 2-1, City Liverpool 2-2, and then Arsenal Villa 2-1. Interesting. Chelsea versus Sheffield. I think they're going to do the exact same thing as they did to Burnley and beat them 3-0. West Ham versus Fulham. If Antonio's back, they're probably going to smash them to bits. So I'm going to go under the assumption that Antonio is back. Actually, yeah, I'm going to go with the assumption that Antonio is back. Because if Antonio is back, there should be no reason why they don't beat them 3-0 because they're playing quite well. West Brom versus Tottenham. West Brom got to be frank, they got their pants pulled down versus Fulham today, and I think that Spurs can definitely do that as well. I don't see West Brom scoring at all, even though Spurs' defense isn't great, and I think Spurs win it 3-0 as well. Just start Lanzini. Lanzini will do quite well. I mean, Haller is I don't think he's fit for the Premier League, to be perfectly honest. He gets bullied too easily. He's a bit soft. For a bigger guy who should be a bit strong. It's a bit of a weird one. Leicester versus Wolves. I think this is going to be a game where Leicester wants Wolves to attack them, and Wolves just aren't going to do that until the very end of the game. And I can see both teams potentially scoring a goal. Like, Jimenez will probably get a jammy goal, as he normally does. And Leicester will hit them on the break once and score. So I can see it being a 1-1. City versus Liverpool. I think Liverpool will probably have just too much for City. You know, Liverpool's been winning 2-1. I think it's going to be a close game. But I just think that City are so wasteful. And, you know, Sheffield United's defense is not the greatest right now. And they only scored 1 goal versus them. West Ham, they've been looking good defensively. But again, City should be scoring more than 1 goal. Leeds' defense just conceded 4 to Leicester. And they just conceded, you know, they just conceded 4, and City only scored 2 versus them, you know. So I think City's just not as good as what they were, and I think Liverpool will end up grinding out this result, 2-1. And Arsenal versus Villa. I think this should be an easy game for Arsenal overall. I don't think Aston Villa are that good, and I think that Villa will try to play football, and I think that, again, plays into Arsenal and Arteta's hands, because any game that Arteta can just say, yeah, we're just going to sit here and we're just going to break on you with Willian and Aubameyang and, you know, the pace that we have, I think they can win the game. So I think they're just going to beat the game. They're just going to beat them pretty comfortably. 3-1. I think they'll still potentially concede, but correct score predictions have been hard this year with 70 underdog. Yeah, exactly. And also, like, the home away thing is just the weirdest thing in the world. Like, United, notoriously or historically very good at home. 1 point from 12. 3 points from 18 in their last 6 home games. Like, it's just mental. Like, actually mental. Like, City should be, no offense to West Ham, but they should be obliterating West Ham. Draws 1-1. You know? United losing to Spurs is just a shocking result in itself. You know, Chelsea going 3-0 down to West Brom and then having to pull it back. Like, it's all a bit mad. Yeah, and Roy Keane is just going to go crazy as he always does. That's just Roy Keane, innit? That's why we love him, because he was crazy as anything. In terms of our clean sheets and differential, I'm actually going to go for... you know what? Actually, I'm going to change my score to match my clean sheet here, because Crystal Palace doesn't score ever. So I think Leeds will get a clean sheet because Crystal Palace just don't attack. So that's my reasoning there. In terms of goal, I'm actually going to go with Fabianski, because I think Fulham will try to attack. They'll create some half chances. And I think Fabianski is very good at just shot stopping in general, and I think he could potentially get a clean sheet versus Fulham. And I think it's probably his best chance to do so. And West Ham's defense has been pretty unlucky not to keep some clean sheets in some games. So, apart from the 15-minute spell versus Spurs, they were quite resolute. So, we'll have to see. Bellerin, I've gone with as the defender for this week. I think he can get some attacking returns versus Aston Villa, because the likes of Target doesn't get forward very much at all unless it's on like a set piece. Bellerin will find some space in there. And I think his delivery... to the back post where Aubameyang is going to be lurking is going to be very good, because it's going to be versus the newly recruited Matty Cash, who likes to get himself forward. So it could be him being out of position, and I think Bellerin can pick up some very good spaces and got an assist, you know, being taken down for the penalty in the 1-0 win versus United. So I think look out for him. He's just over 5% owned. I think he's like 6 point something. Madison, I've gone for Leicester. It's going to be I think it's going to be a draw of some kind between Leicester and Wolves. But I think if there's anyone that's going to unlock the Wolves' defense, I think Madison has looked fantastic in the games that he's played. And Rodgers has been kind of doing play a lot of minutes, play a little bit of minutes, play a lot of minutes, play a little bit of minutes. Because he is a younger player. He's coming back from a longer-term spell out with injury. So I think this is probably one of the games where you'll want him in the midfield to basically unlock the Wolves defense, who are going to sit deep, and they're going to let Leicester be the ones come on to them, because Leicester are going to be the home team. So And then lastly, Aubameyang. He's the man on the thumbnail. He was the man in the Arsenal versus United game, and I think now that he's scored since he signed his new contract, albeit it was a penalty, I think he's going to be involved versus Aston Villa as well. So, yeah, I think he's a good player not to be scoring game in, game out. So, yeah, so that's my clean sheets, differential, and prediction picks for the game week. If we bring in a West Ham defender, should I save on Kufal / Masuaku versus Cresswell? 0.6 or 0.9 difference. I think you just have to go, like, when it comes to defenders now, I think you just have to go with the sure bet. I think Masuaku is somebody that is potentially rotatable in the longer term as the West Ham side decides to, develop. I think Cresswell is somebody who is going to be a mainstay in the team no matter what system they play. And I think he's just somebody that's super crucial to how they create attacks, just in general. And yeah, I think he's just super, super important. And then Bowen as well is somebody who I don't think can be dropped at the moment. Fornals is somebody who is getting himself in very good positions. He scored obviously in the last game, but can be wasteful at times. So I think Cresswell and Bowen are like the two, apart from Antonio, that I would be looking at for West Ham assets overall. But in terms of the timing of the games, again, it is a Friday kickoff start, 1:30 EST my time, which is a, can I do math? 5:30 kickoff. UK time. That's Brighton versus Burnley. Southampton versus Newcastle is the 8 o'clock kickoff in the UK. Then United have to go to Goodison Park and play the early kickoff on the Saturday, with Crystal Palace hosting Leeds. And then Chelsea host Sheffield United. West Ham at the London Stadium versus Fulham. It's a London derby. Then West Brom versus Spurs. Spurs have to go to West Brom. Leicester at the King Power Stadium will host Wolves. And then the big clash of the weekend, Man City versus Liverpool. Going to be an exciting one at the Etihad. And then Arsenal at the Emirates to host the somewhat dipping in form Aston Villa. So very interesting to see those games unfold. Hope United win tomorrow night. They play on Wednesday, I believe. United play on Wednesday. They play the early Champions League kickoff on Wednesday, I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. Just to be sure. Could be wrong. Yeah, they play Istanbul Başakşehir. I don't know how to pronounce that, but Istanbul, the Turkish team in their group, on Wednesday, the 4th of November at 1:55 East, or my time, which is 12:55 Eastern time, which is just shy of 5 in the afternoon for UK time. So hopefully they do win. But again, that win won't solve anything if we go and get spanked by Everton on the weekend. So that would be a bit of a worry. Now, moving into the team for this game week. So we got a lot of flags in our team. We got Ings, who's got an orange flag. We got Mitchell, who's flagged. We got James Rodriguez, who's flagged. We got Lamptey, who's flagged. So Lamptey got subbed off as a precautionary measure. Whether the extent of that injury is serious or not, we'll have to see in the press conference. James Rodriguez should be back, so I'm not really too worried about that. Mitchell is probably going to be back. So it's just apparently it's just a precautionary knock, so they wanted to rest him. He's a very young player. And then Ings could be serious, but they said the scan showed, the initial scan showed nothing too serious. So hopefully it was just like just a hyperextension or a bruise or something like that, where he should be fine for the Newcastle game. And then we don't have anything to worry about. But this is the lineup that we're going with at the moment. So McCarthy in goal. Ayling, Lamptey, and Robertson will be the defenders that I play. Don't want to play Mitchell versus Leeds because I think they'll concede, and I think Robertson is going to concede as well, but I think Robertson has the upside of potentially getting some returns. And Kilman versus Leicester is always going to be a difficult fixture with the form that they're in. Son captain, James Rodriguez, Podence, Salah, Kane, Calvert-Lewin, and Ings, Kane being the vice captain as well. So that's kind of the team that I'm looking to go with. It's going to be Kane or Son captain. I have to see how they play in midweek. Who gets rested, who doesn't. I'm leaning towards Son because West Brom will actually try to attack Spurs, which is exactly what they want, and then they can just fling the ball over the top. And if I see Bale potentially, getting 60 minutes or so, and then getting taken off after they're well ahead in Europa League, then that's a signal to me that he's probably going to start, which means I'll probably likely captain Captain Kane potentially, just because Kane's going to provide to both of them, and it's not necessarily Son that's going to be the target. But again, there could be this theory that I have where if Kane's the one dropping in deep and Son and Bale are running in behind, Kane's going to play the ball into Son or Bale. Let's say it's Son, and then Son could just slide it across for a tap in for Bale. So we'll have to see on that front. But yeah, that's kind of how I'm going with it at the moment. And the bench is always going to be the same. Burke, because he could potentially get attacking returns, and as a midfielder, probably won't play. But again, my defenders should all play. Lamptey should be fine, but we'll have to wait till the press conferences as well. In terms of what potential transfers we could potentially do, so this is where things all depend on who's fit and who is not. So if we find out that Ings is injured, and is injured for a longer term, there's a number of things that I was looking to do. So I could potentially go from Ings and bring in Callum Wilson. That is one option that I was looking at, because he has Southampton away, which is good, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, West Brom, Leeds, Fulham, all defenses that definitely concede. And these are all fixtures that are somewhat favorable for him to score. At any given time, all up until the Christmas period before we go to wildcard in game week 16. He'll have to play City away in one of those fixtures, but again, anything can happen there. And we know he's going to play, and we know he's on penalties. That frees up 3.9 million for us. So in game week 9, we would then hold our transfer. We would keep our Spurs assets versus City, because I think Spurs have a potential chance to still beat City, because City aren't as good as what we expect them to be. But after that, in game week 10, we would have 2 free transfers. We could get rid of Kane, we could get rid of Podence, and then we could bring in the likes of De Bruyne in the midfield, and then we could bring in Bamford, we can bring in Antonio, we can bring in any sort of player. Now, Antonio, if he's fit, I'll bring him in over Wilson because he has Fulham. And Fulham's just a great fixture. And that would just mean that Antonio gets to play... he would get to play Fulham, and he would get to play Sheffield United away, whereas Callum Wilson would have to play Southampton, which, isn't as good, and Chelsea. So those 2 fixtures aren't as good as what Antonio's would be. So that's one option. The next option would be to go for something slightly different. So we could go for just hanging on to Ings, which is possible. We could definitely do that. And just play one of our other defenders, although we are a bit light there. And we're not sure if Burke's going to play after him going down in price as well. But we could also upgrade Burke. So if I wanted to go for, Foden, could potentially, no, not Burke, sorry, Podence. For Foden, Grealish is currently 7.3. I'm we would still have enough to hang on to get him if we wanted to. But the potential transfer that I could be looking at is because Martial has been suspended recently. Now he's a super important part of the way United play, and he could be a direct, easy replacement, having gone down in price for Ings. And then we would still have the ability to get rid of Kane, to get rid of Podence, and bring in De Bruyne in game week 10, and then we can bring in either Antonio if he's still out injured. We can bring in Wilson if he doesn't go up, and we can bring in Bamford as well. That's another potential option there. What team are you in your league? As in my team name? My team name is Air Force One. In the Flames recruits, I'm 102, rank 102. Also, my game week rank, it hasn't updated yet. Okay. But yeah, Air Force One is the team name. I'm ranked 102 in the Flames recruits league at the moment. $106. Close, very close. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people on similar-ish points, and then there's going to be some people who are way out in front because they've used chips or whatever else that they've done so far. Because what I'm basically doing is covering my potential wildcard with hits and that sort of stuff, so that I can get an even more favorable wildcard that could potentially net me more points than my hits would cost me, because of the looming double game weeks after the Christmas period. Also, another thing to potentially look at is that we do have the ability. So, if I know that Aguero is going to be out for longer than Jesus, or vice versa, we can still go to them with the money that we have. Let me actually check. So if I go for Jesus as an example, and I get rid of Kane for, I'm just going to go Wilson just because it's the most expensive, and I get rid of Podence, I cannot get De Bruyne or Sterling. I would have to get somebody cheaper than that, so it'd have to be like a Brewster or something like that. But I don't want to start Brewster game in game out, so that's a bit trickier. Yeah, that's just something I'm kind of looking at the moment. There's a bunch of different ways I can do it, but again, it all depends on whether or not people are fit and available, basically. Depends on if people are available. So, I mean, we can get a press conference where it says everyone's fit, and then I don't do anything. Don't need to do anything. And that would potentially be the most ideal thing, and then I can go into the international break with with 2 free transfers, and then I can keep Ings, and then everything's fine, because I can keep Ings. Game week 9 rolls around, I have 2 free transfers. I can just do something that kind of covers me for a little bit. So maybe I do something like Burke to like Souček in game week 9, just to have him there, on the bench, because he is somebody who's he pay a little bit more, but he's gonna play game in game out. And then the game week 10, when Spurs have done playing City, I get rid of, because I'll have 2 free transfers here. I can bring in De Bruyne, and then I can get Bamford at the 6 million mark, or potentially Antonio if he hasn't gone up in price, or if Kane, if I'm able to sell Kane for more. Then there's a bunch of different ways we can spin it. But again, this week's press conferences are so huge. Excuse me. They're so huge because it all depends on if Ings is out. Because if they say Ings is out 3-4 months or something like that, then it's a problem. Then I have to start making moves. And then there's Champions League stuff that could just throw things, throw a spanner in the works. Near 1 a.m. here in Dublin. Nightmate, take care. Have a good one, Mono. Take care as well. So I know that the streams will probably be a little bit rougher for you if I do move them for the previews, because it'll be 8:30 my time would be 9:30 EST. Yeah, so, or no, 9:30 my time would be 8:30 EST. So it'd be 45 minutes later from now when I would be starting. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Because basically I'm gonna have a commitment that could be from 6 EST till 7:30 EST, and it'll take me about half an hour to an hour to get home and get a shower and get changed and that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, take care, and we should see you for the deadline stream, which again will be 7 p.m. EST this Thursday. So. Also want to give a shout out to Riffla. Thank you for following. You followed us while we were offline, so thank you for that. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to give us a follow over on Twitch. This is where we do the streams, and this is where the VOD for YouTube comes from. So make sure to give us a follow. So, but yeah, those are the transfers. How we're looking. Again, it all depends on the press conferences. There's a bunch of different players I'm looking at. You know. Is James fully fit? I would assume he is. How injured is Danny Ings? Is Lamptey going to be out long term? You know, is Kilman going to maintain his place? Because this week will tell whether he is or not. Because I don't need him for this game week necessarily, but I will need him in a couple game weeks time. So in game week 9, don't want him versus Southampton. We'd rather play Lamptey versus Villa, and we're obviously going to play Robertson every game. And then I like Leeds versus Arsenal just stylistically. So I'm going to go for that. And then, you know, Leeds versus Everton isn't great. But Wolves, I think, can stifle Arsenal. So I would like Kilman in for that if possible. So that's when we would need him next. Would be game week 10. So will be interesting to see if he does maintain his place. But yeah, this is the team. We'll just run through it one more time. For the time being, make sure to check out our lineup video, which will be going out on it should be going out on Wednesday, but I won't know much more apart from the Champions League stuff and maybe some early news from certain things. Like I might know Danny Ings is like full extent of his injury and that sort of stuff, but I'll basically discuss like what I could potentially be doing. But yeah, this is the team for as we stand. Not going to be doing any transfers before the price changes tonight or anything like that. So we have McCarthy in goal, Ayling, Lamptey, and Robertson in the back three. We have Son, James Rodriguez, Podence, and Salah in our midfield. Kane, Calvert-Lewin, and Ings lead the front line with Steer as our backup goalkeeper, who's not going to play. Burke, Mitchell, and Kilman is the order on the bench, with Son captain and Kane vice captain at the moment. So yeah, that's it for the lineup. And that's going to do it for this preview stream. Make sure to leave a like over on the video when it goes up over on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Come follow us over here on Twitch. We'd love to see you in the chat and getting involved. I can't wait for when the actual deadline streams come back properly, starting Game Week 9 when the deadlines are actually on Saturday, so that I can do it now before. More interactivity there, and it's a lot more fun to see different people's perspective. The only unfortunate thing is I don't have to go back to using my headset mic because it is earlier in the morning. And it is a lot easier to speak, softer as it picks up a little bit more. But yeah, make sure to check us out for the deadline stream if you are around. It's going to be 7 p.m. EST on Thursday, and it's going to be the last one, hopefully, for a while. Obviously, barring the the midweek fixtures that come at Christmas time and that sort of stuff, but those are going to be on wonky days anyway. But yeah, hopefully it's the last midweek-ish deadline stream for a while. But yeah, 7 p.m. EST here on Twitch, or here the VOD will come out on YouTube afterwards. But it will be live stream on Twitch, 7 p.m. EST. Make sure to come check us out over there. And until the next one, take care.